Hello and welcome. If you remember from the last video, we have been doing a small application with React. The purpose of that is to learn how to assemble an application without using a full-blown framework, and to also get a minimal build, a minimal bundle, and to also understand what is going on inside of our build application. So on the last video, we have reduced a bit the number of dependencies. And on this video, I want to further show you how much I have improved since then, and also show some improvements on the workflow. So let's get right into this. If you have landed on this video for the first time, the way to go about it is we first need to clone the repository I have. So if you go to GitHub and you land on my profile, I'm going to include YouTube videos in the YouTube video, the link to this repository. So yeah, and there you can see a repository React from scratch. So there are some instructions. I have updated them since last time, and we're gonna try and follow and to see how much of a working instruction set it is. So first we're going to clone the repository, and I already have a folder here. It's a dev folder, and inside it there's no repository React from scratch. So we're gonna clone it here. Then we're going to switch to that. Afterwards, I'm gonna use Uglify.js, and that is going to be used for the final production build to minify without using some WebPack plugin. So let's install this dependency globally. Okay, and after that is done, we can install our dependency and to make a first build. So let's proceed. Install dependencies, and we have a build script. I will get into that a bit later, but let's run to see that it's actually building. It's going to run the Webpack build. It's gonna do some copying of files to the folder build, and it's gonna do minification. Now, if we open our code editor, I'm gonna be using Visual Studio Code. Let's put it into some desktop here, for example. Yeah, so we see that the build folder has been generated. Let's see, maybe we can make it bigger. Yeah, main. So there is the index file, there is the minified main.js file, there is some image folder copied, and JavaScript assets folder copied from our public folder. Let's see what it actually built. Can we open it in the browser? So from scratch, we go to the build folder, index, select. Oh, it's running, right? But as I mentioned in the previous video, if we want to interact with the server, if we want to do some CORS requests, it's better to run it via a static server. So for that, there is some instructions under the running section. I propose to use the HTTP server, and let's go install that. So we're gonna install it in a separate tab. We're gonna run it in parallel. First we go install the server. It's done, and then we're gonna run it. So we run it on localhost port 8080. We allow CORS, we allow access from anywhere. That means if we want to access it via our mobile phone, via Wi-Fi, the server will allow accessing from outside of our localhost network. Right, so let's run it. In a separate tab, we are running, and it's looking at the build folder, right? And as long as this thing is running, you can do like rebuilds, you can run anything, and just let it run, and it will show, and it will like serve the static files. Let's visit that. So on port 8080, there we go. I'm gonna touch a bit on this application in a bit. Let me just finish with one more final detail I have come up. So for rebuilding, obviously in the last video, I showed you that it's possible to go and every time run the build command and make sure that the folder is updated. However, I have introduced a script. The script is watch.js, and it's using this very, very awesome package, Chokidar. Just let's briefly see what Chokidar is. Chokidar is an NPM dependency that allows us to watch files. If you scroll a bit, you will see that it's pretty straightforward. So you just import it, you initialize a watcher, you say like what events and what to do, and then you can also specify like what files to watch. So in my case, I have like several like helper functions, but let's go like from function to function. So the first thing what we want to do is we have create watchers and add event handlers. So we create watchers based on the paths. So for each path I'm specifying, we're going to create a watcher. And the paths are all the important paths. So for example, the build files, the package of log files, tsconfig, webpack, public, and source. And afterwards, for each watcher, we add events. We add if there has been updation, if there was a change to the file, if it was unlinked, if there was an error. So that's good. But what happens when like there is actual file change? We have this utility function called run build, and what it does, it runs our build shell script. And the build shell script, this is the right time to visit this file. We have here, so it's a bash script. And this gives us a lot of flexibility of what to do. All of this can be done via plugins, via Webpack. But remember, we want to have a minimal build. Like if you look at our Webpack config, you'll see it's just bundling TypeScript. It's just bundling JavaScript and TS6 files, producing main.js file, and then that's it. Everything else is done by the build folder, so by the build script. There is the build directory. It's first we remove it, we clean it, we make run npm run build, and that is configured in our package JSON. So in package JSON we have the Webpack build, and this is provided by this Webpack CLI npm dependency. Afterwards, we have minification. We have copying to the build folder of HTML files, of JavaScript files, of images here. And the final step is to do actual minification. So we run uglify.js. We remove all the JS maps generated. We update the index.html to show to the minified uglify main.js file, and it's produced. So going back to our watch file, we have the run bash script. It runs this build, and then we have the create error page. This is actually very cool. When there is an error during the build process, so here in the run bash script, if there is an error during build process, we are rejecting it. And on the run rebuild, if there is an error, we create an error page. So let's see how that works. For example, if in our app file, we put some stray characters, right? Obviously, this is an error. So if we go back to the build, to the, what's it called? To our terminal and run it. So to run it, we need to launch it as node watch. It's going to subscribe to all the files. It's going to do a build, and there are errors. If you go back to the web page and you refresh, you see the errors are here. Wow. Obviously nothing complicated, but it's like working without anything complex. Now let's go back. Let's correct this and go back to the browser and see it's doing a rebuild. So let's wait for that rebuild. Okay, it's working. Another point, if for example we have an error in our build script, so what happens if we for example specify the wrong command? So uglify, it's going to pick it up. So you see it's doing rebuilding, and it's noticed that build has changed, but there's an error, uglify command not found. And the browser, the browser is also saying this file. So really it catches like 99.999% of errors. And the only thing it's not gonna catch if your watch.js file has an error, but that's if you actually write it very properly and debug it carefully, there will be no errors. So let's come back to the actual application, and in the build files, let's correct this error. Okay. Let's see it rebuild. Yes, you have to refresh the page to get the new page. I'm gonna, in the next iteration of this video, I'm going to add a socket which will notify the browser to automatically reload. Okay, and the final bit in this video, I want to talk about the actual application. In the application, it's a proof of concept that shows how to work with styles. I'm going to use Tailwind CSS. I'm using like a library to generate GPG keys, and it's a full working application. So here you see we can generate public keys. We can have different RSA strengths. It's you can have, like, for example, you can copy. So here we have copied the file, and we have the key. So this is basically a working application, not like a hello world. Thank you for watching this, and please come back to the next video. I'm going to discuss how to do automatic reload of the page using a technique via WebSockets, and also I'm going to go in detail about the actual GPG key generation, what this application does. Thank you, and I hope you had a lot of interesting ideas in this talk, and obviously you can go to my repository, and if you find this useful, you can clone it and use it for your projects. Yes, please come back, and see you next time.